another video, and today's video is going to be a topic that I get asked about a lot, not so much on YouTube, especially not on this channel, but on our other channel and in day-to-day life, and that is how my husband and myself have managed to stay married for so long in this new century, decade, life, whatever you want to call it, in modern times. So I thought I'd come on and give you guys like 10 tips to help you if you're newly married, or things that I wish people would have told me when I got married, because I got married very, very young. So I think these things will be helpful to you. So for the first thing, I have all my stuff written down on a piece of paper just so I can keep my thoughts together, because I don't want to ramble very much and make this super long. So the first thing that I have is, of course, find the right spouse. Obviously, if you and your spouse are not compatible and you're just holding on to this person because you guys are comfortable, or you don't want to have to start over, the person has all the red flags in the world but you just can't let go, obviously it's not gonna work. Like, you have to be equally yoked in everything that you do, and you have to find a partner that suits you. I know as women, oftentimes we can, we love someone even though we know that they're not right for us, and we have to work on changing that, because you're just setting yourself up for failure. If you see so many red flags while you're courting or dating someone, then obviously you shouldn't move on into the next step of marriage, because the whole point of courting and dating someone is to see if they're the right one for marriage. So I would definitely say find the right spouse. Don't rush things and just go into it like, hey, I'm gonna get married, I love this person, we're gonna make it work. Because if you're not compatible now, you're not gonna be compatible 10-15 years from now. And then the next tip that I have is leave your arguments off of social media. I think the worst thing that you can do is to go to the internet with the arguments and the disputes that you're having with your partner. I've never done it. I don't do it. I'm a very private person. I actually had someone who was very close to me tell me, when you're arguing with your spouse or whatever, don't let other people in, because when you've forgiven them, others haven't, and they're always gonna look at your spouse in the light that you shed on them. And you can't be mad at people for saying things or treating your spouse certain ways or treating you certain ways when you let them in to your marriage. And not only does social media play such a huge role in life in this day and age, it plays a huge role in people's relationships. Like, people's feelings are forever wavering depending on what they see on social media. So if you cherish your marriage and you keep your own marriage off of social media, you keep your arguments off of social media, it kind of creates like your own little sanctuary where you have to deal with your own problems. You have to value each other's opinions, and you're not letting all those outside sources come in and control your emotions and how you're feeling and what you're thinking. And a lot of times that happens. Like, let's say you go on social media, you say, oh yeah, my husband cheated on me or whatever. You're gonna get this flood of comments coming in telling you, hey girl, you don't need him, you can do better, he's nothing, he's this and he's that. When odds are you're probably still gonna stay with them. And then you've left such a bad taste in everybody's mouth, your own mouth, and even your spouse's mouth. Nobody wants to be that spouse who was on the internet as the person who cheated. Like, nobody wants to be that person. So I would definitely recommend leaving your arguments off of social media. The next thing I have is to be submissive. And that is a very broad statement, and almost 90% of the things that I'm gonna mention after this are gonna be what submissive is. For me and my husband, what works for us is that he likes to take the lead. He's in charge. He's the man of the household, so he makes all the major decisions. That is a form of being submissive. However, your husband is wanting you to submit to him, you have to submit to him in that manner, because you have to love your husband and submit to your husband in the ways that he wants, not the ways that you want. Because for one, that's not compromised, and for two, in order for a marriage to work, both parties have to be happy and fulfilled. And if your husband is asking these things out of you and asking you to submit in a certain way and you're not, then it's going to lead to arguments down the road. It's going to make both of you unhappy because he's asking you to submit. He's asking you to let him take the lead and be the man, and you're not. So that, moving on to the next thing that I'm going to mention, which also goes into being submissive, is resolve arguments in a timely fashion. If you, let's say like your husband, he has a problem with something and you guys get into a disagreement or argument about it, resolve that argument right then and there. Don't let it linger, because if you let it linger, it's just going to grow and it's going to get out of control and it's going to turn into something that it didn't have to. Like, most arguments start off small and they grow into larger things because they're never resolved, and then resentment starts to build, and 2 weeks from now you'll be arguing about your husband left the toilet seat up, and then it'll turn into, oh, remember you said this 2 or 3 weeks ago, because it wasn't resolved. So definitely resolve your arguments. And it's okay sometimes to just not argue at all. Like, if your husband says something and you don't agree with it, it's okay to just say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, I see your point, and go on with life. There's not a need to always have something to say. Which brings me to my next point. Speak less and listen more. I had to learn this the hard way. Like, you don't always have to speak. If someone's telling you how they feel, just let them have the floor. Men naturally, most men anyway, my husband, he's different. He's very outspoken. He will speak on his emotions, how he feels, what he's thinking. So I don't have this issue. But if you're constantly speaking when your husband's trying to say something, odds are whatever's the problem is not going to get solved, because he feels like he's not getting listened to, and he's going to start not to care. Like, he's going to start caring less and less and less every time he doesn't get his point across or he doesn't feel heard. Like I said, in order for a marriage to work, both parties have to be happy, and your husband can't be happy if he's not heard. And I'm only speaking on the women's side of this because I am a woman, and like I said, I want this to be things that I wish people would have told me. I can't speak on a man's perspective of marriage because I'm not a man. So this is just like tips for women. The next tip that I have is do what is asked and expected of you. If your husband asks you to do something, just do it. Like, you know that your husband expects a warm meal on the table when he gets home from work. Just have a warm meal. If he expects the house to be clean and spotless, just clean the house, because you expect your husband to go to work. You expect your husband to spend time with you, to care for his children. You don't have to ask those things out of him, or at least you shouldn't have to ask those things out of him, because he's the man. He knows that he's supposed to do these things. If you know that your husband expects certain things from you, do them, and do them in a timely fashion. Don't wait till 5 minutes before he walks through the door from work to try to hurry up and throw things together and, basically half-ass it. Like, just have it done. I find that definitely having organization and discipline within the family definitely helps. Like, if you have children, like, teach your children to help you clean things. Teach your children to fix their own plate and take things off of your plate, because especially when they're old enough, like, they need to be self-sufficient. Your husband doesn't want to walk in the house and step on Legos when you knew he was on his way home and you could have advised your children to pick them up. So it's just little things like that that really do help in the long run. Another really, really, really important thing is don't involve family in your disagreements and arguments. I can't stand when people get into it with their spouse and then they call their mom, like, hey mom, he's doing this, he's doing that. Or they call their sister and, yeah girl, he always does this and he does that, and I just can't stand it. Because that's very demeaning. Like, that, for me, I'm a woman, and that would make me feel very belittled. So as a man, I can only imagine how that would make a man feel. Like, he's gonna have to be around your family, and when your family comes around, they're gonna be looking at him like, oh yeah, he's the one who mistreats my daughter, or he's the one who doesn't treat my daughter the way I want her to be treated. Like, Nobody wants to be that person. And like I said, most times it's over something small. Like, you know, I know that it can be really hard, even to like our friends and things like that. Like, we'll call our friends and like, girl, he getting on my nerves and he did this and he did that. And it's like, why? That's only escalating the problem. It's gonna grow the problem. Then, you know, some family, like, they like to get involved. Like, don't talk to my daughter like that. I don't like the way you talk to my sister and treat my sister. And if this is a person that you truly love and that you're gonna be with and that you're married to, you should want to work things out with that person. Why go and stir the pot? Like, in the South, they call that stirring the pot. Like, you're going to tell everybody, you're making rumors, you're stirring up confusion. So that's just a no. Like, I wouldn't do that. Another thing is, don't go to bed angry. And this ties back into resolving your arguments in a timely fashion. Like, when you go to bed angry, you're going to wake up the next day with those same issues, those same problems on your mind, when in all actuality, you should wake up the next day to a fresh start, to new beginnings. You shouldn't be holding on to things and holding grudges, because then it'll just keep continuing. Like, you'll hold it in your heart tonight, then tomorrow you're still mad about it, and then the next day you're still mad about it, when you could have just resolved it, got it over with, went to bed, slept everything off, woke up the next day and had a fresh start. And I feel like that's very, very important. Like, yeah, I feel like that's very, very important. The next tip that I have is to truly forgive. If you've had an argument and you say you forgive that person and you're gonna let it go, everything is resolved, don't bring it back up. Don't bring it back up. Don't hold feelings in your heart and, you know, just say, oh, okay, and get the argument over with, but you're still holding on to feelings, negative feelings in your heart. If you say you're going to truly forgive someone, let it go. Don't bring it back up. If you choose to give a person another chance, or if you choose to, you know, let the argument be squashed, then let it go. Just let it go. And also truly forgive yourself. I know sometimes, like, we can do things and, like, we don't even forgive ourselves for them. And if you haven't forgiven yourself for things that you've done, then how can you forgive others? Like, for me, like, I've done things that I'm not proud of. Even in my marriage, like, obviously my marriage is not perfect. Nobody's marriage is perfect, but I had to learn to forgive myself for doing those things. Like, my husband, he had already let them go. And I was like, oh, you know, I feel bad for doing this. Or I feel bad for doing that. And it's like, no, you need to forgive yourself for doing it. And you need to be able to grow and move on and be a better person from it. So definitely learn to truly forgive and know what true forgiveness is. Like, we wouldn't want someone constantly throwing up our past in our face and telling us what we did wrong, or why we shouldn't have done it, when the person already said they forgave us for it. So why would we do that to the person that we claim that we love and we want to spend the rest of our life with? So that is to that tip. I think I'm almost down to the last one. I think this is tip number 9. Don't weaponize basic necessities. Like, and ladies, like, we do this all the time. Like, it could be cooking, cleaning, intimacy. If we get upset, there is no hot food on the table. There is no sex for our husbands. There, you know, the house is going to be a mess, and it's like, oh, I don't care, I'm mad. And it's like, where is that really getting you? Like, I like hot food and I like to cook my own food. I like to live in a clean house and I like to be intimate with my husband. Why am I using those things against him? You're actually punishing yourself if you really think about it. But that's going to lead your husband into someone else's arms, especially if he's been dealing with it for a long time. Like, you can bring these things upon yourself. Like, a lot of people bring infidelity upon themselves. If you're not pleasing your husband and doing the things that your husband is asking of you, then common sense is going to dictate he's going to go look for it somewhere else. And that's just the honest truth. It is what it is. Like, if your husband, you know that he needs these things, like, why would you want your husband to have to go get these things from someone else? Like, I can't stand for someone else to fix my husband a plate. 15 years of being together, he's never had a plate fixed by somebody else. That bothers me, because in my mind, it's like, okay, like, I'm supposed to feed him. I'm supposed to make sure that he's comforted, make sure he has the things that he needs. Why would I want another woman to do that for him? I don't even like to eat out. I don't like fast food. Like, because I feel like that's my responsibility. My husband wouldn't let someone come in and provide for his family. So I think of it in that manner. Also, like, that can build a lot of resentment. Like, when you're holding things away from your husband that he's only supposed to be seeking from you, he's gonna resent you for that. And we don't want our husbands building resentment in their hearts for us. And I thought that that was my 9th tip, but that was actually my 10th. So if you ladies have any questions or comments or anything that you want to leave down below that you wish someone would have told you before you got married, or if any of these tips are helpful to you, then leave that down in the comment box as well. If you ladies enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And I will see you ladies in the next one. Bye, y'all.